about fishing on a rainy day. I think sometimes rainy days are good days for fishing, and sometimes rainy days are days when you don't want to be out on the water. But that's the theme today. Follow me and fish for people. And as I was working on this week, I thought to myself, I should have just made the title simple. Let's go fishing. Let's go fishing. Because God is calling us today in a very simple way to go fishing. To fish for people. To go out and tell the hurting people of this world the good news of Jesus Christ. There's a favorite old quote of mine, which is, if people concentrated on really important things in life, there would be a shortage of fishing poles. If people concentrated on what is important, there would be a shortage of fishing poles. Well, I enjoy fishing, so that would be true for me anyway. Or perhaps you remember one of our illustrious presidents, Jimmy Carter, who in one of his books wrote, "Many of the most highly publicized events of my presidency are not nearly as memorable or significant in my life as my fishing trips with my dad." Fishing. Allow me to digress for a second. When I was a little boy, I used to love going to Mississippi because my grandfather was a legendary fisherman. In fact, I didn't write this down in my notes, but I thought maybe I should tell his most famous fishing story was he was standing with two of his buddies, and the one fella said, "Beeman, you'll never guess I caught a fish and it was this big." And the other fella said, "You think that's big? I caught one and he was about this big." And then being larger than life, my granddaddy, who we call Papa, Papa looked back at these two fellas, and in his deep Mississippi way, he said, "Boys, I caught one and he was about this big." They said, "Beeman, that's not very big." And he said, "It was that big between the eyes." That was my grandfather. A good fella and a great fisherman. And when I was young, my brother and I would go and stay in Mississippi there just outside Jackson. They had a house on the Ross Barnett Reservoir. And we'd go to bed at night not knowing if we were going to get to go fishing the next day. But we loved to get up and go fishing. But the way it would work is we would go to bed, and at about 5 a.m., there would be a whisper there on the side of the bed. And it would either be my brother or me, because he would only take one of us to the early morning session. And he would come by the bed, and he'd lean down and whisper in your ear, "Hey buddy, let's go fishing." And you jump out of bed. It's not like going to school. You were ready. You jumped up. There was a Pop-Tart already buttered sitting on the counter with a glass of milk, waiting. The boat was already hitched up. We were on the water by 5:30 in the morning watching the sunrise. There's no way you could sleep through the joy of that early morning invitation, that chance to get up and catch a big old ugly catfish. And so here we are on the third Sunday after those wise men came and visited Jesus. And we read about Jesus being on the north end of the lake up in Capernaum, this little village right up near the Golan Heights. We read about Jesus' encounter with the disciples, the calling of those first disciples. Here we are in a fishing village. And God is leaning down, whispering in our ear, "Hey buddy, let's go fishing." You know, change is guaranteed in life. People die, people get sick, people lose jobs and change jobs. They get in trouble and they make mistakes. Bosses change, politicians change, presidents change, pastors change. Sometimes transition is peaceful and welcome, and sometimes change feels unbearable. It almost feels like a revolution sometimes. So where is the unchangeable rock in the midst of all this blowing wind? Perhaps this sermon is meant to be the voice of God calling the church to fish again, to pick up the pole, to bait the hook, to get back to doing the work of God in the community. Simon, Peter, Andrew, James, John, all these fishermen, they earned a living by fishing in the Sea of Galilee. Jesus started the church with these simple fishermen. I remember somebody once said to me, they said, "You know, Kris, fishing isn't good news for the fish." I think, oh, good. Because, you know, the fish have to die in order for us to enjoy cooking them and eating them. Forgive me if you're not a fish eater. I love fish. But fishing for people is kind of similar. Now go with me here. We're actually showing people that they need to die to self in order to find new life in Jesus Christ. That's what fishing for people is about. It's about helping them to go from death to life. And today the Lord comes and whispers in our ear with that amazing invitation, that personal invitation, the one that will spring us from our sleep. Those words that we've been waiting to hear, that we hoped to hear when we went to bed, that would wake us in the morning and see us on the lake watching the sun rise. So I asked the question. It's a question found in an old Scottish hymn that I fell in love with years ago. It's called The Summons. The Summons. I'll see if I can play it here in a moment. The accident of not having an organist, I could play this song, which I wasn't planning to play. It's a song that my wife and I surprisingly had sung to us at our wedding. We didn't know that was going to happen, but the fellow who preached at our wedding decided to launch into song and sing this song. And the words of the song really echo the call of Jesus to fish. And it goes, see, I'll do the first line and then I'll play it all. You just have to imagine yourself in rural Scotland, on the side of the Inner Hebridean Isles looking out, and you hear these words. Will you come and follow me if I would call your name? Will you go where you don't know and never be the same? Will you let my love be known? Will you let my name be shown? Will you let my love be grown in you and you in me? Let's go fishing.